Herbert Hoover, project by Mahina Smith. Born on August 10, 1874 in West Branch, Iowa. His father died at age 6 from a heart disease. His mother died from pneumonia at age 9. He lived with his aunt and uncle in Oregon. He graduated from first-class Stanford, led hunger relief efforts during World War I in Europe, was the U.S. Secretary of Commerce when building the Hoover Dam and St. Louis Seaway. In his first campaign, he ran safe. He made a total of 7 radio speeches and was portrayed as an efficient engineer in the era of technology. He was associated with the last 2 Republican administrations, which gave him a great advantage over the other competitors for the Republican Party. 8 months into his presidency, the stock market crash of 1929 happened. Hoover disregarded Republican leaders who believed that they should do nothing but wait for the next phase of the business cycle. Hoover decided to take prompt action. He called business leaders to the White House to urge them not to lay off workers or cut wages. He urged state and local governments to join private charities in caring for Americans made destitute by the Depression. In 1931, he backed the creation of the Restriction Finance Corporation, also known as RFC, a large-scale lending institution intended to help banks and industries and thereby promote a general recovery. Unfortunately, none of these actions worked, and the United States only fell deeper into the Depression. Though the Republican Party was convinced that Hoover couldn't win, the president was determined to defend himself. His opponent, Roosevelt, ran his campaign with caution because he wanted to maintain the focus on Hoover's mess-ups and faults. Hoover attacked Roosevelt's New Deal, but he lost anyway. Hoover was forever blamed for the Great Depression. The word Hooverized, which in 1917 carried positive images in the public mind, had gone a similar transformation. In 1932, Hooverville had come to represent the dirty shacks in which the unemployed and homeless now lived, and Hoover flags denoting the turnout pockets of men's trousers as they stood in bread lines, without any money. Hoover came to represent the most conservative parts of the Republican Party and was never forgiven for the Great Depression. He died from internal bleeding on May 2, 1972, and was given a formal funeral. In World War I, Hoover helped 120,000 stranded American tourists return home from Europe, coordinated the delivery of food and supplies to citizens of Belgium after their country was overrun by Germany. Hoover encouraged Americans to reduce their consumption of meat and other commodities so soldiers would have enough food and clothing, and earned worldwide acclaim for his humanitarian effort. He also received thousands of letters thanking him for what also became known as Hoover Meals. Why didn't Hoover abolish taxes? The government needs money so it can function and pay all of its workers, so you can't just abolish taxes. I hope this answers your question, Shane. Hoover agrees with most historians on what caused the Depression. The stock market crash of 1929, bank failures when the banks didn't insure their deposit, and the drought in the Mississippi Valley, which later became known as the Dust Bowl. Hoover practically did nothing because none of his policies worked, so I don't think it would have changed anything if he didn't do anything. During the election of 1932, Roosevelt labeled him as a conservative Republican who didn't do anything. The people needed somebody to blame, so they blamed Hoover. Trickle-down economics is labeled with Republicans now. Hoover generally focused on giving money to the rich and expecting them to provide jobs to the poor. This didn't work because the banks and the businesses that he gave money to didn't employ people that they didn't need. So all they really did was get the money and do nothing with it. FDR directly provided jobs for the poor. which turned out to be a better system. Thank you.